Sí? Bon dia, benvingudes, benvinguts.
Welcome, everyone. We like to do things live, so live issues are just what comes together with that. Some technical glitches that made us go a little late. But anyway, welcome everyone to this session on this question. Platform cooperatives can benefit social economy of Catalonia. Well, we have a couple of hours ahead of us with different formats, speeches by Mr. Travis Scholz, and panels and conversations on this thread, on this question. Just a couple of housekeeping issues, and then we can go ahead. If you want Wi-Fi connection, you should use Valkyria 1 network and Valkyria Hub Space, first V, capital V. That would be the password. You've got simultaneous interpretation. You've got your headsets, channel 1 for English, channel 2 for Spanish, channel 3 for Catalan. Last, if you want to tweet or post anything, we would like you to do that. The hashtag would be co-op, C-O-O-P, and then Suara Coop, and for the consortium at BSC_global. So we have Laura Perecaula, Director General of Suara Cooperative, who will give you some welcoming words. Good morning. Thank you, everyone here today. Thank you for being here with us in this event on platform cooperatives.
Joining us via streaming from your screens anywhere in the world, such as Torino, New York, or Paris. This event has been organized by Suara and the Platform Cooperativism Consortium with the participation of Professor Trevor Scholz, founding director of the Platform Cooperativism Consortium at the New School in New York City, and also research professor in residence at Mondragon University.
We will have with us today here representatives from this new working model in Europe, Spain, and Catalonia. We have Juan Antonio Pedreño. He's the president of the CEPES Employers Association and Social Economy Europe. Victor Massaguet, he's the director of Social Economy Europe and member of the Experts Commission at the EC Social. And Maya Fuste, she's director of research of Demons in cooperative economy on the Internet Interdisciplinary Institute of the Open University of Catalonia. I would also like to thank the members of the panel afterwards. Josep Vidal, Director General of Social Economy and Solidarity in the third sector of the General Government of Catalonia. Alberto Sobejano, he is professor and emeritus professor in commercial law in the University of the Basque Country. Bela Vidal, she's a PhD student in platform cooperatives at the Open University of Catalonia. And Angel Scobo, she's the director of the Digital Transformation Office and the project for the transformation of caring at Suara Cooperative. Thank you, all of you, for being with us here today in this event. I would also like to thank the administrations, the authorities that are really committed to cooperative cooperative platforms, and also the City Council of Barcelona with their Decidim platform. I would also like to express our gratitude for making this event possible today.
Which we want to make a reality visible, a reality that is happening all around the world as much as it's happening in Catalonia. What do we mean by this? I'll try to put it in context. It's obvious we are in a change and a transition that should bring about a fairer, more equitable and caring world with people. And this change also brings with it an accelerator, digitalization. The classic capitalist model and the latest events demonstrate that the current economic model is unsustainable. What is the context? It's complex. but it can be explained in several ways. High market speculation, raw materials, food, housing, the exhaustion of natural resources, the accelerated climate change, the increase of people in vulnerable situations, a patriarchal society, lack of resources for public administrations to be able to meet their commitments, high levels of inflation, and in consequence, families' loss of purchasing power, and high structural unemployment. And we could keep going. So what can be done to reverse the situation? It's not easy, but one option could be changing the classic capitalism model to a more ethical model. And here is where the social economy is gaining traction and is gaining ground, because we're in a crisis that requires common ethical values. An ethics based on humanity, reciprocity, equity, truthfulness, and collaboration principles, and all of them with a gender perspective. Així, el que avui...
So what we're dealing with today, what we're discussing today, is how the principles of cooperativism and social economy fit in this new era, which is more and more real ahead of us. So to make a point that this is a fact and that social economy is a good solution and that we believe in that, this is why we have here today some of the organizations that are already working on this path, like Saluscop, Mensacas, Som Mobilitat, and La Zona. So without further ado, I would just like to wish you a morning of learnings and cooperation. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, Laura Peracaula. And you were saying that this event wants to make our reality visible because this new economic model, as Laura Peracaula said, is exhausted, is in a crisis, and we need to see how we face these new challenges. We'll move on now to a round of reflections and connections because we have some things on site, some things online, with representatives from the European, Spanish, and Catalan cooperativism, and willing to have a first snapshot of the answer to this question. We will start with a presentation by Mr. Juan Antonio Pedreño. This was recorded. He's the president of the CEPES Employers Association. He's also the president of the European Confederation of Employers Association, Social Economy Europe. So let's move on to this presentation. Good morning.
Be able to participate in this promoted by Suarez. I am very sorry that I cannot be here. I would have loved to be here, but since I have to be somewhere else at the same time, then it is impossible for me to be here with you. But I want to congratulate you for having chosen this topic because I think it's important to join the cooperative model with new digital economy and to be here in order to talk about how platform cooperatives can, in a way, can give an answer to this platform capitalism and this Uberization of employment at the moment. I think this is also very important. A few years ago, we had to complain, in fact, too, because they were promoting an event similar to this one. And we even had the threats of this company because because they went against cooperativism at the moment. We had Perfecto Alonso at that time, that was the president of the cooperative section in Catalonia, a member of COCECTAC, that actually helped us. I just want to tell you that we are living a very extraordinary moment at the moment. In order to promote another kind of employment. We are going to have more opportunities for companies such as Suarez and all social economy companies. A few months ago, we talked about an action plan for social economy that was approved in Brussels. And since then, we have been trying to implement the measures whose plan will run until 2030. We're going to this plan is going to affect all the governments in Europe, and we are going to make sure that in each of the countries there is a reference similar to the one that we have in Spain for the Commission of Employment and the European Parliament. We want to create an ecosystem of social economy in Europe. And for this, we need to increase the presence of social economy employment. And this is the main challenge that we have. Suarez and all the people that are here have this as a name. We need to grow in order to change scales, in order to have political influence, in order to have access to funding. We have to grow in order to make governments aware that there is a model of companies that is different and that contributes solutions such as the ones that we are going to talk about today. It is a new kind of employment that provides decent employment for people, and this is going to be fundamental for all territories. In Spain, we have a first aim for action plan, which is Pertobal of social economy. 10 days ago, we had a dotation of over 10 million with the euros with the participation of 12 ministries. There will be different calls for companies, and these 12 ministries are going to ease the access to projects for companies to actually improve their social competencies. Of course, platform cooperatives can be the starring projects for these social economy projects, because we have to show how we work so that our companies can improve the quality of life of people and also companies' competitiveness. This project was, as I said, we launched just 10 days ago, and we hope that it actually introduces advantages for all companies in Spain. We're also very happy because we are now living in a moment which is crucial. A few days ago, 5-6 days ago, the ILO and OECD adopted several resolutions in favor of social economy. Especially the OECD mentions the platform cooperatives, and also ILO mentions social economy, and they haven't done so for over 100 years of their history. So we see that European institutions and most governments in Europe, in this case, they are actually promoting public policies. In this sense, there are 23 governments that have promoted public policies to favor social economy. That is a high percentage of all the governments that are part of the European Commission. So this is a very crucial moment in history. And from Europe, there is also a project which is called Transition Project, and this project is very interesting because it will favor the social economy companies. From the European Commission, we have also a participatory joint project in order to favor green transition, digital transition, in order to encourage and to foster social economy and to have access to the different and so that all the public workers in the European Commission actually know more about what social economy means. I'm not going to talk for much longer because I know that it is difficult to hear a speech or presentation through a video, but I am convinced that we're living a unique, crucial moment in history. It is in our hands, the different institutions of social economy and the different companies. It is up to us to actually take advantage of this situation in order to present the values of social economy and make them sort of spread to the rest of companies and economic sector. And through the resources and the European action plans, we can improve competitiveness and grow. Grow is the key word. This is the challenge, our challenge for the next years, to grow in order to be more visible and to make society actually understand how important social economy companies are. I want to wish you a very fruitful day. And I'm very sorry not to be able to be there to listen to Trevor, to whom I want to say hello from here. Thank you very much.
So these would be the headlines. As Juan Antonio Pedreño said, social economy is in one of unhappy moment if you want it to grow. And also he was discussing this first European vision that all governments, most European governments, are promoting public policies in favor of this social economy. So we have a great moment for social economy. Juan Antonio Pedreño was giving us this first vision of Spain and Europe. Now we have a connection with Brussels, a live connection with Victor Massagué, Director of Social Economy Europe and member of the experts group at the European Commission on Social Economy and Social Enterprises. So Victor, good morning. Can you hear us? Hopefully you're not as hot in Brussels as here in Barcelona. Yes, not as much, but anyways, what's your vision regarding the question that makes the threat of this session? Platform cooperative, could the future of social economy be good for Catalan economy? So I will be changing languages.
Pero voy a intentar aterrizar algunas ideas a las que se ha referido. Bueno, en primer lugar, efectivamente, vivimos un mundo bastante extraordinario y tenemos que ser conscientes y tenemos que ser capaces, además, de...
We need to understand that we need to actually move forward. In December, the European Commission issued an action plan for social economy. I am sorry, but we are not getting... Okay, that's better now. Thank you. So there was an additional funding from the European Commission, apart from the 2.5 billion euros of the European budget. So this is the first important data, over 39 action plans and a horizon of 10 years. So this is an extraordinary piece of news that we have been working on for 8 years. There are several projects in the action plan that are interesting. Juan Antonio referred to this project of transition ways. The project of transition ways is a kind of strategic plan of social economy for digital and green transition. So we invite you to participate so that we see what our strengths are for green and digital transition, and also to see what are our needs in terms of alliances, funding, and to write a sort of wish letter, some of the actions we have to commit among ourselves in order to make them possible, in order to escalate, and other actions we have to ask the European institutions to help us. It is a project that is now already working. We have had the first round of workshops with 2 pillars, green transition and digital transition, and you are all invited to participate. The next workshop will be on the 24th of June, and the next one will be, and the first one on green transition and then another one on digital transition. It is very important for you to understand, to describe the projects that you participate in, what are your needs, and the possibilities of building alliances. So this is a project. We also have a project in order to have young entrepreneurs in social economy. So youth economy is very important, and the Commission is going to also work on this direction. I think one of the important elements of the action plan is that social economy is developed in different speeds in Europe. Some states, such as Belgium, France, Italy, or Spain, social economy represents 10% of employment or over 10%. In other countries, especially in the Eastern European countries, where the economy of market is younger, because, of course, there was a different economic regime where cooperativism did not come from civil society. In those countries, only 0.6% of companies are social economy. We represent 8% of GDP in Europe, as much as the automobile industry, but we have a potential to grow in the following years. So the action plan has as an aim to go from 6.3% of labor force working in social economy to up to 10% in 2030. As Juan Antonio has said, in order to focus on some of the ideas he presented, we are living in an extraordinary time in Europe. The OECD has actually made a recommendation on social economy, but you know that the OECD is a body that has a lot of that is very powerful in the world, and recommendations in order to elaborate public policies and have the capacity to influence for the elaboration of public policies. This is very important because the ecosystem of social economy is very diverse in the different countries in Europe. So we have now the opportunity to sort of converge, to learn from each other, and that is why the OECD has actually presented this recommendation, making a definition of social economy, but also going beyond legislation, telling the countries what policies are critical in order to develop a social economy ecosystem. And something that is very important, the main characters are not only public authorities, and this is very clearly stated by the OECD. The policies have to be co-built and made through collaboration. As the disabled movement in Europe says, it is nothing for us, it is with us. So it is a call to strengthening the dialogue with the stakeholders in social economy. What I also want to present is that the future is favorable to us, because in 2023 we'll have the presidency of the Council of Europe by Spain. Then we will have the Belgian presidency, and both Spain and Belgium are highly committed with social economy. So this will be just before European elections, where there will be a new agenda and a new political agenda, a new budget will be passed. So I'm not going to talk for much longer, but just to stress that it is a crucial moment. Social economy, as usual, will actually lead transitions. Yesterday, we were talking to a French company that, through a French movement called ESUS, what they do is they manufacture batteries for renewable energy installations. So we are always pioneers, and we carry out fair transitions. You know that this is so because what we want is for citizens to be actually stakeholders and actually lead the transition and do not only observe it. So we have a lot of opportunities, but what we need to do is to strengthen our bonds and to have a clear strategy. This strategy has to be, by definition, decentralized. It will include a multiplicity of projects, but it also needs to for us to think out of the box, to build alliances and go beyond what we have done so far. This is what I wanted to tell you, and I wish you the best for today's event, and I will be following the event for a while. Thank you very much.
Gràcies.
Thank you very much to Victor Massaré, Director of Social Economy Europe, member of the European Commission Expert Group on Social Economy and Social Enterprises. He said again, as Juan Antonio Pedreño, that the moment's extraordinary, that the growth potential of the social economy is very high. He gave some data, more than 6% of working population, and by 10% by 2030. And the OECD recommendation giving support to the whole ecosystem of social economy in the sense that policies are co-built. So a call to dialogue with the stakeholders social economy. So more cross-cooperation is required, he said. The next future is smiling to us. So again, this message is full of opportunities. So again, we've had the record message, live connection. We have an on-site speech by Maya Fuste, research lead in Demons and Collaborative Economy at the Interdisciplinary Institute of the Universitat Oberta de Catalonia. You have the floor. Thank you very much. First, thank you very much to the organization to invite me.
Jo soc Maya Fuster. Ui, perdó. Perdó, és que me poso això per...
Sorry, I put this for time. I have only 5 minutes. So, I'm Maya Fuster. I'm the head of the chair of digital economy, which is a joint effort between the Universitat Oberta de Catalunya, the City Council of Barcelona and Barcelona Activa, led by the Demons Research Group that has prepared the presentation I'm going to give today. We have also Melissa Renau and Pere Vidal here, and you can talk to them to see what we're doing at Demons. As I have only 5 minutes, I'm going to provide 5 great ideas. First, Catalonia is pioneering in cooperativism and platform cooperativism worldwide. I think it's very important that we know our own history and that we set forward our own talent in Catalonia. There are many items that show the development of the last decades of the digital revolution, where Catalonia has always been at the forefront. But just to showcase one, more than a decade ago, Catalonia held an international forum to connect the traditional cooperatives with digital innovation. Or each time the European Commission makes a ranking of socially minded platforms, Catalonia is always overrepresented. Some of experiences like those we're going to present later have been internationally acknowledged. So this is the first message. Second, we are at a good moment, at a good point, as the colleague said, but at the same time, with a long-term view, the social and solidarity economy will have a future in this century as long as we have a different internet. It's not only about digitizing or platformizing the social and solidarity economy. That's not enough. Technology is not neutral. It's not harmless. The digitization model encourages inequality in social and gender, and platform cooperativism is a different alternative, but it's not enough. Promoting the platform cooperativism as it's set today, we acknowledge a lot Traben's dissemination work worldwide. We need to be aware that it's not only important that governments, like in Europe, as my colleague said, are promoting the social economy and the digitization of the social economy, but we also need to develop a different internet governance, the different of system of split power, the concentration of economic power, and the loss of political power is very preoccupying. And Catalonia has been pioneering in promoting city network, the Sound Cities, in order to promote a review of the internet governance structure and promoting different regulations from the ones in place today. And I think that we need to clearly a strong action in nationalization or communization of key items of the economy or very different regulation. On the social economy agenda need to be also internet policies and the shift in the current model. Third, as Laura Paracaola has said at the beginning, the platform cooperativism is an alternative model to the platform capitalism. It is, but it's not enough as a model. It's the best starting point, but we also need alternatives to the colonial rationale of the economic system. The digital society is more complex and diverse than the industrial one, which is where the social economy came up. So we not only need a platform, a pro-social platform cooperativism, but also a feminist one in order to be egalitarian. I say this being aware that the current platform cooperativism model also in Catalonia works as bad gender inclusion wise as the platform capitalism. So based on a recent research on a sample on 27 cases of platform cooperativism in Catalonia, only 1/3 of the platforms have inequality plans, and only 25% of platforms have equality measures such as equal access to stable working positions. So we need to be aware that the social side doesn't solve the gender side. Fourth message. Who is as important as how? We consider that the cross-sectional methodology is the great innovation of this century, not the blockchain. There is a big debate about blockchain and all its potential to promote equality in terms of decentralization of power. But the history of internet has shown that decentralized technology is not enough to ensure equality and a democratic result. Therefore, I consider that we need to go for cross-sectional methodologies that ensure equality in social, gender, race, origin, and all other terms related to creating inequalities in society. An innovation, that's my mobile phone, sorry. An innovation that places people and not technology at the center, when making sure that from all axes of inequality, social, gender, race, we're creating egalitarian democratic structures, then we'll be sure that we're doing it. Because just because a company has the legal form of a cooperative doesn't make sure that it's egalitarian. Same thing with the technology. Just because it's decentralized, it's not egalitarian. In fact, access and technology, just as they are very male-dominated and the views of technology are very androcentric, digitization strengthens other inequalities. So social and solidarity economy needs to be aware of that. And when digitizing, it has the risk of being less democratic. So the digitization processes need to come with cross-sectional methodologies to make sure that they have a truly egalitarian effect. And this is my fifth and last message. Again, Catalonia is pioneering. Catalonia is, as of today, a landmark in promoting a model of pro-social, pro-common platform cooperativism and feminist as well. Just to name some elements, the Match Impulsa program brought by Barcelona Activa for cross-feminist digitization of social economy, encouraging digitization while ensuring an increase of egalitarian practices. Catalonia will also lead the European cost network to include the approach of the feminist economy to the digital economy. And finally, Barcelona will host the 8th Congress of Feminist Economies that will take place next March, and we're invited to submit proposals revolving around the digital dimension, including feminist interpretations of this site, and a great opportunity to create a framework of feminist movement, so the platform cooperativism has action in all sides, not only social one. Thank you very much.
Moltes gràcies.
Thanks a lot, Mayo. Mayo has also approached us. It's a great moment, but she had some. There was some pitfall. I took note of something you said, because social and solidarity economy has a future. We need different internet. Yes, but so different governance of internet. Platform cooperativism is an alternative model to platform capitalism, but still keeps it patriarchal or colonialism. Blockchain is not innovation, as you said, and Catalonia is pioneering in going along this line. So thank you very much, Mayo, for this speech. So we follow the session with the speech, New Vision of the Future of Cooperativism by Trevor Schultz. He is professor at the New York School, founding director of the Platform Cooperativism Consortium, affiliate faculty of Harvard Heckman Center, and guest professor at Mondragon University. In 2014, Trevor Schultz introduced the platform cooperativism. He has published different books around the impact of the digital economy, and also a specific book on platform cooperativism. He publishes articles on digital economy in many media. We're not going to make a Q&A when Mr. Schultz finishes, but you have the option afterwards of asking questions in the later networking from noon on. You can share your viewpoints
Des de diversos punts del lloc.
from different following from different points. You'll find on YouTube, under the video description, a link where you have access to a form when you can say to whom you're asking and contribute thoughts. So
So it's so nice to meet in person again, right? For the first time after such a long time. And first of all, before we even start, I don't know where they are, but there are these translators here somewhere, and maybe we should acknowledge them and maybe give them a round of applause for this invisible labor right here in the room, right? Should we? Right, yeah. Right. And I think Mario took my notes, so I need those notes back. Somebody took my notes, the notes, yeah. Thank you. No, so somebody took them. Where are they? That's really fantastic. All right. I mean, we can do this without notes, but yeah. All right, these are my notes, very much so.
I can do the lecture if you want.
Yeah, why don't you? Come on. Great.
Sorry.
Excellent, yeah. And another person took my water, so I'm going to take that too. Give me just a second. All right, off we go. Great. So fantastic. So nice to be back in Barcelona after such a long time. And you know, I really appreciate Suarez's invitation and commend them on this amazing event, and also really just the start of a series of events, right, here right in Barcelona. And so just when you thought that 2022 couldn't get any weirder with like the richest man on earth buying Twitter and afflicting the 330 million people every month to his ownership, we are also marked by like really catastrophic weather events, which you know, you may have felt yesterday, right? Incredibly hot. And also, of course, we are coming out of a global pandemic and now also likely walking into a recession. Right? So I think it's safe to say that we are living in a time of crisis, right? And as a result, it's really not surprising that there's a lot of interest in the impact of cooperatives, and platform co-ops are part of that, on the social economy in Barcelona, but also elsewhere, right? And so here in the city, platform co-ops such as Mensakas, and let me see if I can get to my first slides, such as Mensakas and Salus Co-op, La Zona and Katuma, WiFiNet, and Sama Hassan's Amara, and Som Mobilidad, right, are changing the way that people work and live in response to this various crises, right? So for the next 15 minutes or so, I will explore this movement of platform co-ops as a counterpoint to these various crises. So they have various advantages, and of course somebody also, there are pages missing now, so that's really excellent, but we will totally improvise this. So they have, this is like perfect, right? Seems like teaching or something. So they have advantages. Maybe if you think of platform co-ops, I should probably first tell you what they are, right? So they are businesses that sell goods or services primarily through a website, mobile app, or protocol. And unlike other traditional companies that are owned by shareholders and motivated by profits, these co-ops are owned and operated by their users and their workers. So, and it's not really a model, but more of a process of experiments, right? Many different experiments in this economy. And they have many advantages, right? So the advantages are that there are really 10 that I want to bring up, right? They are worker and multi-stakeholder platform co-ops that are democratically owned and governed by their members, right? So as Mario Fuster correctly said, not all cooperatives are, but worker and multi-stakeholder platform co-ops that are really strong in this field are very much governed and owned by their members. They place a great emphasis on social and environmental goals, bigger than on profit maximization and growth alone. They are less likely to fail after the startup phase than in comparison to other companies. They are more effective at worker retention. And they are, multi-stakeholder platform co-ops are designed to benefit the community and not just the members of the co-op, right? When you think back to Rosa Luxemburg's classic critique of cooperatives. And they also avert predatory intermediaries, which means that the workers are often paid more, sometimes twice as much. And 7, they are more accountable and transparent, as member owners have a direct say in the management of the business. And 8, they provide more dignified working conditions, and that's such a big word, right? Like dignity in the workplace. But really, when you talk to workers in this field, you really feel like, I talked to one worker in New York City, and she told me that, like she feels much more respected now by her community now that she is an owner, and it has really the cooperative has really changed her life, right? And how she feels in the workplace. So it's by no means abstract. And the primary objective of worker platform cooperatives is to provide employment opportunities for their members. And consequently, they are less likely to outsource their jobs to other countries at the expense of jobs in their own organization. And lastly, they have the potential to transform the economy by promoting a more democratic and sustainable economic system and a more democratic internet as well. Right? Responding to these crises that I mentioned earlier. So in short, these businesses are really good instruments in times of crisis and a step forward towards fulfilling the UN Sustainable Development Goals, a framework to build a more sustainable future. So in recent years, the popularity of platform co-ops has grown exponentially, with new co-ops appearing in places all over the world. We know of at least 550 projects in this global ecosystem spreading over 43 countries. And this trend is likely to continue as more people become aware of the benefits of this business model. And Barcelona, as Professor Fuster said already, is really a page in this book. Appointed by Mayor Ada Colau, Francisca Bria served as Chief Technology Officer of the city for 4 years, and during that time advocated technological sovereignty and launched a number of initiatives to increase transparency and citizen participation. And the Barcelona City Council also committed to platform cooperatives. But while Barcelona has become a model for other cities looking at making the most of the digital transition, there's also still much more that can be done, right? In terms of concretely supporting platform cooperatives through procurement, incubators, and other measures. In Brazil, last Wednesday, former President Lula declared his support for platform co-ops, and he gave that example in Araraquara, which is a city in the Sao Paulo region, where the mayor had started a platform cooperative of taxi drivers, which is now bringing these drivers a revenue of 95% of the profits from this company. Right, as compared to, let's say, Uber taking out 25 to 50% of that revenue. So really interesting that this is this public-private collaboration that's happening there, right, in the cooperative space. So there are multiple barriers, of course, to the success of this work as well, and one of which is scaling. And so to start, there has been this expectation over the last few years that when you have platform cooperatives, that they will annihilate, large tech companies, and I think people who started to believe this by now will be deeply disappointed because, Google is still in place and all these companies are still in place. So the expectation is historically inconsistent because when you look at how cooperatives were founded, there are really very few that were started to destroy the competition, right? To destroy the monopolies. But they are founded to serve the needs of the members, right? That's why cooperatives are founded, and platform co-ops are not so different. They are scaling not only up, but also wide and deep, right? So there are different conceptions of scaling, and they are established in response to crisis, exactly what we are having right now. And that's when they are thriving. But the value that is created is really difficult to measure. It's not just captured in GDP, but we really need a much better cooperative value accounting to really measure what the value that is created. So there are several potential strategies to scale this movement at this time. One strategy is to, emphasize co-op values such as transparency and democracy and really draw in people in this way. Another one is partnering with existing cooperatives and social movements and tapping into their networks as one option, for example, to bring marketing to these small cooperatives, right? So we see this in New York City, where the Drivers Cooperative is competing with Uber, which has millions of dollars in advertisement and marketing funds. But they are working with unions and other social movements, which really help them to publicize this cooperative, this platform co-op, which has really helped, right? So unions can be a way to amplify this. Platform co-ops can collaborate to develop a cooperative global ecosystem that fosters mutual growth, and with the right mix of social franchising and replication and the global sharing of digital infrastructure and a spirit of solidarity, this can really work. So I want to say that, and I agree completely with Professor Fuster, that this insistence on one model, be this platform co-op or anything else, right, is a mistake. It's a huge mistake. I think this kind of tribalism, right, of holding up one model, be that cooperatives or unions or social enterprise or whichever else, right, blockchain or whatever it is a vital mistake. It's a big mistake. So I believe in in an also and strategy rather than an either or that recognizes the importance of a diversity of organizational forms, co-ops, unions, employee-owned businesses, small private companies, and publicly owned companies. And this is why I have this vision of a pluralistic digital commonwealth, right, in which all of these models work together in an ecosystem. And so when attempting to scale platform co-ops, and again, like building on what Mario said earlier, I think that it's really important to have regulatory support. It's a really important factor. And that's why more platform co-ops are appearing in areas like Catalonia, but also, of course, New York, New Zealand, France, Kerala, India, right? In Quebec, Canada, in Brazil. And this is because there is a grassroots movement that supports this, and there's also regulatory support that makes that happen, right? So Kerala's government, state in the south of India, has just announced that their policy directive that they will introduce 4,000 platform cooperatives in the next 3 years in that state in India, with the support and leadership of the government for startup funding, right? Also, the next PCC conference will be held in November 4 to 6 in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. And the conference will focus in particular on designing for the needs and of the workers and communities in the Global South, and particularly through collaboration with municipalities, right? So in addition to regulation, anchor institutions matter a great deal as well. So organizations like the Platform Co-op Consortium are essential for scaling through education and advocacy. We are working to raise awareness of platform co-ops and promote their growth. So for example, the PCC entered in partnership with Mondragon University, and Aitor is right there, to teach a course on platform co-ops to 1,300 students over the last 2 years from 60 countries in collaboration with with dozens of partners around the world. Research, right, is also really important for the scaling. So research that is close to practitioners and that really means something and is useful to practitioners is really important. So we built a research network of PhD students. Some of them are here. Vera is over there, for example. And so currently we have over 30 PhD students who are either fellows already or former fellows with us, and they are playing a significant role in this. Also to mention this, this policy paper, which really in depth, we worked on this for over a year, to really map out how municipalities can support this work. So we can share that later if you want. We published also a report that targeted this work in India, which is just about to be launched. So there are anchor institutions like that in Indonesia, in Hong Kong, in Germany, in the UK, right? And Mondragon University now also in the Basque Country to host events and teach courses and incubate platform cooperatives. And why is this so important? This sounds maybe like very quotidian to you or casual comment to you, but it's really not. It's a really deep experience because people leave, people's life changes, right? Policymakers are changing, but these anchor institutions stay, right? And they cement these principles and these values, and that's why they are so important as go-to places for practitioners in a given city, right? For these values to continue. So this matters in terms of crisis in particular, right? In times of crisis, it's important to move also this practice beyond the region, right? Beyond Catalonia, beyond Spain, and really coordinate globally, establishing international platform cooperatives and emphasizing that the instances at hand are not isolated outliers, as the New York Times would love you to believe, but are really part of an international movement, you know, which also gives it, of course, a political element. In recent years, there has been a growing movement that thinks about data politics, right? And again, Professor Fuster had already pointed to this, responding to the threat from big tech companies, the crisis of economies and, you know, politics controlled by these tech monopolies. So our data, and I'm not telling you anything surprising here, our data can be used to track our movements and understand our preferences and even manipulate us, right? In response to the Twitter acquisition by Elon Musk, I proposed also cooperative data trusts. So we taught a research sprint last fall to focus on this and to think about how communities can get greater control and access over their data through data trusts, cooperative data trusts, right? And I believe that the internet should really be a place where everyone can come together and have a say in how their best-loved platforms are run. Platform co-ops are also promoting this vision in part by using peer production licenses like the CC Plus license and Co-op Left, as you can see here, slightly tongue-in-cheek used by Co-op Cycle. These licenses allow anyone to freely examine the software code for non-commercial purposes, but then only cooperatives, worker cooperatives, can use the software, right? So it's a way of, it's not open source, but it is source available and commercially available also to, only to worker cooperatives. Okay, coming to an end, I want to say that recently, and again, like building on what Mario has said, there has been a lot of hype about blockchain and data trusts, as well as crypto and distributed autonomous organizations, DAOs. And although there are many scammers and con artists and questionably eccentric people in that space, without any question, it would be a mistake, I think, to not participate in those discussions, right? But to bring our perspective to this field and to experiment in that field. So distributed technologies have the potential to change the way we interact with the internet, changing the apps-based system, which harnesses data, and to a distributed system. And data trust could hopefully help us to create a more equitable and online ecosystem. DAOs can distribute power, facilitate coordination, scale up governance, make traditionally invisible work visible, so there's this feminist aspect in this work as well, monitor and track compliances with rules, define collective agreements, and enable cooperation among communities. And so these features make DAOs an attractive option for a variety of organizations, from small businesses to large corporations. But while DAOs are still in their very early stages of development, I think it's clear that they have a potential to change the way we govern cooperatives and the way we cooperate in everyday life. So as such, our research has shown that it's worth paying attention to these developments and thinking about how co-ops could position themselves in that space. For example, legacy cooperatives collect information about their customers, sales, inventory, employees, and other things. Platform co-ops can provide digital platforms for connecting the various legacy cooperatives, so the B2B element, which is completely underexplored so far. So a platform co-op could connect a cooperative grocery store and a cooperative farm, for example. The farm could then share production data with the grocery store, which could use it to stock its shelf more smartly. So Barcelona. Barcelona has long been a hub for digital innovation and citizen participation. And in recent years, the city has also become a key player in digital policy, with the city hosting a number of important summits and conferences on the subject, one coming up next March. But in the face of crisis, right, so economy, health, and climate, there's still more work to be done through public-private partnerships, procurement, support of anchor institutions, research, and support for the commons, and practical support from the government of Catalonia and the Barcelona City Council would really help to ensure that the city and state more broadly remain at the forefront of digital policy debates and continue playing a leading role in shaping the future of a more cooperative internet and in response to crisis. Thank you very much. Thank you. Despite missing notes and all the...
Thank you, Mr. Scholz, for sharing your knowledge with us, and stay, please, on the stage, because you will moderate the next roundtable. El senyor Scholz moderarà la següent taula rodona, que de seguida...
He will be moderating the next panel, which I will introduce right now. It's been very synthetic, but the ideas are great. The platform cooperativism is not a model, but a process of experimentation. But also, he was pointing at recommendations, examples, and practical cases. Also, he was talking about public-private partnership in this platform cooperativism. And it comes with difficulties, of course, as happens with social economy, quantifying or counting the impact of the social transformation that comes about. And sentences such as tribalism is a key challenge, diversity around this movement. And also he was vindicating the support needed by the administrations to push this forward. It's been really interesting, and I will now introduce the members of the panel that will be facilitated by Mr. Scholz. This panel is again around could platform cooperatives benefit social economy in Catalonia. And I will present now Josep Vidal, Director General of Social Economy and Solidarity at the Third Sector and Cooperatives of the Government of Catalonia. Alberto Emparanza is a professor at the University of the Basque Country on commercial law. Vera Vidal, she's a PhD student at the Open University of Catalonia working with platform cooperatives, and Àngels Cobo, she's Director of Digital Transformation and the Project for Transformation of 24/7 Caring at Suarez Cooperativa. Yeah. So thank you very much. Your turn, Trevor.
Fantastic. Oh, okay. So, echo. Great. Well, welcome everybody. It's so wonderful to have everybody together. And so I will keep my role very small here, and just wanted to see how we can bring out, I guess, the best out of all of you. So really to see how you see your contribution to this ecosystem or this work. I mean, you are all here for a reason. And so I want to ask, essentially, maybe starting with Suarez, maybe you can talk about these 3 projects that are underway at Suarez in building platform cooperatives. Yeah. Yeah, Seth?
Bon dia, gràcies, Trevor. Sí, intentaré ser ben breu. Des de la cooperativa estem portant a terme 3 projectes vinculats a la digitalització. Un projecte va vinculat a una activitat essencial des de la cooperativa dels nostres processos, que és la participació societària.
Which is social participation. The second project is linked to the caring of people and their welfare. And the third project is on how we rethink the caring systems. And these are the 3 ongoing projects. Basically, the first one on social participation. Before the pandemic, we already set up within the cooperative the Decidim platform, We Decide platform, to test and try how we could get value on our social participation, because we have 1,200 members in the cooperative and we needed new tools. So we were testing with a pilot group, which were some of our partners, some of our members, and then we got the pandemic, which actually gave us the opportunity to really implement this firmly in the cooperative. We had to adapt it to our needs, but then from the first assembly we needed to set up online during the pandemic. All 1,200 members could connect, we could discuss and participate and vote with our voting rights. So something which could have been unthinkable 4 years ago, having this platform, this ongoing platform and half prepared, allowed us to engage in this process in an accelerated way. The second tool we started also on the wake of the pandemic was to support some of the members of the cooperative, because some of us had the privilege of keep on telecommuting, whereas some of our colleagues had to be working on site because these were essential services they were providing, like taking care of the elderly or children in risk of exclusion or homeless people. So we had these two groups, the ones telecommuting and the ones directly caring for people on site. During the first weeks of the pandemic, which, at that point there was a great concern. We didn't have protective equipment, we didn't have political guidelines or anything. So instantly, like in 15 days, we created this platform through which our colleagues could connect online with other colleagues like psychotherapists and coaches to get support, instant support for whatever they would need. This experience was really successful at that point, and we opened it up to citizenship as a whole, because we saw that families with relatives in care homes, in nursery homes, were really suffering. So they requested we should open it to everybody. So from that experience and the reflection afterwards, we created this MVP, which is a platform basically to accompany workers in the framework of companies. We are trying to explain that the same thing we did to accompany ourselves, we are trying to promote companies so that they get involved in a better and bettering the welfare, the well-being of their workers. So we are providing this platform with very short format trainings, this 20-minute training sessions, so that this can be used in any working space. We try to explain companies that if they give a break, a smoke break or whatever, or a conversation which is healthy, why shouldn't we have a 20-minute break session for accompaniment? So this is what we're testing right now. And also this platform model can also be brought to a transformation model for care, because a key piece for a care transformation model is training in new skills, care professionals, being together with them, because these people have lived through the pandemics and they've been supporting the elderly. So this is an ongoing process, and for us this is a key tool for care transformation. But in order to transform care, not only we need digital platforms, but we also need to redesign the whole care system. And I don't have time for that, of course, but I will say just one more thing. The sector, the industry of care, is measured by hours of service, and we're saying that we need to change this unit of measurement. We need to measure it by solutions or needs. This means that we're basically saying that speed is not measured with the unit we know, or volume is not going to be measured in liters, but a different unit. And we're saying that caring for people cannot be measured in hours of service, and that's the big challenge on the table.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So coming next to Vera Vidal, here I wanted to open it up to Vera, but maybe with the question, like, where you would see platform co-ops and the 7 cooperative principles that were defined by the ICA, how they can really match, or if they are at odds with each other, and perhaps if you think that it's important even for these emerging junior platform cooperatives to adhere to these 7 cooperative principles.
Muchas gracias, Trevor. Muchas gracias por la invitación. Me alegra mucho estar aquí. Y me parece una pregunta muy interesante.
I think this is a very interesting question. In the first place, because as it has been said, you can be a cooperative platform without being a cooperative. And this does not mean that you cannot adhere to the principles, because as we see, because of the very same shape of a cooperative, when you are a young company, it's very complicated to start being a cooperative. So certain companies will opt by being an association during the first few years, but following the principles of a cooperative. So as to establish certain ways of work, participatory systems for the possible future stakeholders, to have transparency and co-decision systems. So there is the whole systems, the whole process of preparation. For example, in France, there is a figure called prefiguration association. This means that, for example, CoopCycle could start under this system before they actually became a cooperative. This means that you can work under the principles of a cooperative without being one legally. I also think that cooperative platforms are very good examples of how you can adhere to the principles of cooperativism, not only because these are cooperatives, but also because they have the mechanisms to actually ensure the following of the principles. An interesting example is TMF, because I think that you have Resco as a partner that actually carries out the work to help. This is a mobility factory. This is a cooperative, a European cooperative society that created a software that Lucas will tell you in more detail in order to be able to share electric vehicles. They have cooperatives in all over Europe. So Resco has an important role to play, so that the new partners or the new stakeholders actually have to adhere to the principles of a cooperative. So this enables for the collaboration with co-op platforms and also other kinds of companies. I think that these examples actually, all the examples we have here are very interested in cooperation, because we cannot have isolated co-ops. The systems that are actually working properly are doing so because there is cooperation at Catalan level, European level, international level, with other platforms and also with other co-ops of the same sector. And beyond that, they can help companies sort of reinvent and go to new principles. In the Barcola group, there was a discussion in the sense that they did not have open knowledge principle, and this goes beyond just support to the community principle. And this also enables for the possibility to rethink certain issues that belong to the classical systems. We see, for example, that through new models, if you do not have a single category of partners, you have users, you have workers, you have stakeholders, you have supporters, the project is thought in order to defend a main category and to make sure that the others participate in the discussion, but we have to make sure that all of them have a voice. What do I mean by this? There are certain models where they say, well, for things to work, we give you voice, but you cannot participate through funding, or the other way around. You can become funders, but you do not have voice and vote. And this does not mean that they are not democratic, but it's all very complicated, and we have to rethink the different traditional ways of participation of one partner or one participant, one vote. So we have to rethink of the different ways in which the different stakeholders can participate. Thank you.
And then thought about cooperative principles and their application to platform cooperatives. And now it would be interesting to hear from a legal expert from the University of the Basque Country, maybe how those new emerging organizations can fit in the legal framework of Spain, and which challenges open up in that space, right? For example, in the United States, there could definitely be challenges in terms of cartel law, right? So organizations like Co-op Cycle under American law would definitely face cartel law, which would be associated with price fixing, etc., right? So I wonder if there are similar problems, or maybe what the obstacles could be in a Spanish legal framework.
Yo quería agradecer la invitación a Suara, personalizada en Jordi, que es el que ha hecho posible que yo esté aquí.
In the first place, I wanted to thank the Suara cooperative for having invited me. We were commissioned a report on the legal viability of cooperative platform. When we advise companies, we normally are specialists in finding the problems and difficulties, but we also need to propose solutions. I think that the cooperative, the platform cooperatives are a very attractive legal form, but it has certain inconveniences in the case that we sometimes the cooperative is only to provide services, and these also entails difficulties at digital levels. So everything is becoming more and more complex. We are a cooperative ourselves, associated work cooperative, and many of our clients are industrial cooperatives. So the difficulties that the cooperative can face, a digital platform, are different. And here, I just want to mention two of the main difficulties we have encountered and certain mechanisms to solve them. The first difficulty would have to do with the collaboration regime with partners and workers, because sometimes it's difficult because these are people that are working sometimes and not in a continuous way. So it means that because we understand that a cooperative as a relationship of constant and permanent work with the cooperative, and this has generated certain problems with the labor inspection systems, because they may think that it is a way to actually not to do things as legal as they should be. For example, another problem that we always find a bit complicated is that the ownership of the algorithm of the software that does not belong to the cooperative. Very often the cooperative actually has sort of hired the software through a contract. So it would be desirable for several cooperatives to be the owners of this software. If we take into account that the algorithm or the software is thought for a business but not for a cooperative, then sometimes the consequences of the use of such software, well, the software does not match very well the needs of the co-op. And then we have the issue of funding. Not so much, I mean, it's how to make it possible for funders to actually participate in the cooperative, not in the way they are used to, but respecting the principles of the cooperatives. So maybe these kind of platforms are not so attractive to venture capital funds, for example, because they use their classical logic of participating always from a dominant position. So these are the three main problems that I see. But if we change the mechanisms of governance within the cooperative, this could be solved. Sometimes, I mean, in the first place, sometimes the workers do not want to become part of a cooperative. Maybe there are investors that want to participate, but they want to have a decision on the management, or maybe creators or software and algorithm developers that actually also work along different lines. So these are the three main legal pillars where we can encounter difficulties. But I think that it's possible to overcome them. And I want to finish just by saying that we want to foster public-private partnership in this field because we are carrying out research from the legal point of view in order to try to convince public companies actually to provide what we could call public interest services. And this, I think Trevor has already mentioned that, this would also help digital platforms to actually have the support of the administration if the cooperatives, if they had the support of the public sector through the support, integration, whatever, this would mean the cooperative would have a longer life. Sometimes we have to think of new formulas where the one partner does not equal one vote, but we should have to make the cooperative model attractive to the digital market that actually has different challenges in a way.
We saw this in Brazil, where in fact you can't legally operate a platform cooperative. We saw this in Japan, where worker cooperatives were just legalized a year or so ago. Right? So there are many legal barriers to this work. And I think what's really important, and I think completely agree, right, is that what really matters are the outcomes for people, right, not cooperatives. Right? So it's not about, the ultimate goal is not to create more platform cooperatives or cooperatives in general, but the outcome is really like to make life better for people, right? No matter what, right? Which in every way we can do this. And so maybe this is, then I come to our last contributor here, and to just see how which role Catalonia can play in this international ecosystem, and we think of it as a big orchestra, right? What could be Catalonia's role and contribution? Because one thing I think is really important to emphasize again, right, is like to really think globally, right? And to really not start from scratch and think like, oh my God, like nobody has ever thought of short-term rental before, or, nobody has ever run a care cooperative before, right? But to really think about who could we partner up with in whichever country, right, to further and make the life better for our members. So I don't know if this is a good prompt for you, but like how do you see Catalonia's role?
Well, thank you very much for the invitation to Suarez. And the role of Catalonia, well, I don't know. I don't know if I am the role of Catalonia, but if I embody that. But of course, we're part of the government of Catalonia, so we want to be really in the lead for new initiatives and any proposals from social and solidarity economy and cooperativism. And Mayo has explained that very well. Barcelona particularly, but Catalonia as a whole has enough proposals and a history of proposals to be able to do this and to lead.
It's maybe small enough to just project. Yeah. Oh, they're bringing another microphone. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No sé què, no? Que tenim prou experiència, prou expertesa com per poder-ho fer.
We're sorry, but the sound is really bad. The values of cooperativism are about sharing with whomever wants to do it and has proposals. It is true that as a government we are approaching, or we should approach, what should we do with public policies in regards to this kind of cooperativism. And I would include a reflection here, because I'm not an expert and I'm speaking from politics, no matter how much theory there is, politics walks a different way, and that's what actually helps us move forward. In the end, at the end of the day, we are talking here about cooperativism, and what brings together platform cooperatives is work or consumption, and that exists already. The problem we have, at least from the field of public policies and also from the world of cooperatives, is to find the tools so that the cooperative model can compete with platform capitalism when generating proposals, because the new initiatives of entrepreneurs in this country should be done from the scope of cooperativism and not necessarily in the commercial field, because they won't find funding or spaces to go together with them or spaces to grow. And the fact is that in Barcelona with Demons and Martin Pulsar, we've done a lot of things. They've done a lot of things, but we need to be realistic. Probably I wouldn't say pessimistic, but we are lagging behind no matter how many proposals Catalonia has, but there's a significant risk that social economy will be left out of large economic activities in the future linked to platform cooperatives. We are kind of reflecting ourselves in the new entrepreneurship. There's a challenge here which has been taken by Suarez, which is how cooperativism generates platform cooperativism proposals which prove that the value is not just the tool, the software, but given that there is already a governance, the place where this is integrated. Because we are seeing proposals from entrepreneurs with a high awareness of the economic model they want to go for. They know for sure that they want to link this to a democratic consumption model, or that they want to link work to working democratic model using a software tool. And this step, at least from the regional government of Catalonia, and Laura was talking about singulars, that's what singulars allow. The model of public policies we need to implement in this case is one of policies which are open enough, not only in terms of subsidies, but in all regards, so that they adapt to whatever organizations want to do with them. We need to find our way. We are aware from the department and the government that there's a long way ahead to do things in this regard and to find support elements in this field. We are fully aware of that, but also we know that some of the projects that have been discussed have access to some of the subsidy lines we've put forward. And then there's something Maya was talking about, which is a concern for us, and this is the gender gap. It is actually getting bigger, it's getting wider, and it's only apparent that we can also see this gap in the social economy. And we say it, but somehow we're not able from the movement, from the government, to find formulas so that we eradicate that gender gap. From training, because of course to remove that gap you need access to training in the technological field for women, as also access to employment, entrepreneurship. Of course in the countryside, in the rural world, they also have this gender gap for us, and we've been discussing it for some time now. There's something we need to do about it, because it really brings us backwards in terms of the rights we have accomplished altogether so far. So that would be my piece.
Well, I mean, I don't know, from the outside, right? So coming in here as an outsider, not from Catalonia or Spain altogether, I always feel like such a strong urge that I feel like people should work together, right? So that, let's say, this initiative at Mondragon University is really coming together with people here in Catalonia, and that together, right, like you bring this forward. and also so much in tandem with global efforts, right? Because the technology is so expensive, right, to build. And so to really think that not, like I said before, right, we have, at Monaghan University, we worked with like 1,300 students from around the world, and they all had this idea of starting from scratch, right? Like, let's do like some, you know, e-mobility company, and as if nobody has ever done this before, right? And starting now, let's look for funds to build this software, right? And it is maddening, it is insane, right? Like to think, like the waste, right? This insane waste. So the big plea for me here would be to really all work together as a like global community to push this forward, right? With an association in between these municipalities, like these progressive municipalities, like Catalonia and like the Basque Country, but also, you know, in Kerala and in other places around the world that have a similar agenda, like in Bologna, for example, right, Emilia-Romagna, where you have the city council, in fact, convening a platform cooperative, right, Consegni e Teacher, under the pandemic, time of the pandemic, so that they actually played like an active role in creating and helping to find funding for platform cooperatives, right? So like this sort of active role. Anyway, maybe you have questions for each other. I don't know. Like, do you want to? Did you say, oh my God, I completely disagree with this person. What did they say? This is insane. No? Well, if not, we could dare to be democratic and open this to you and see what you, or did you have a question for? Yeah? No? Oriental? Oh, it's open. Yes, open it. Okay. Okay. So be brave and jump in.
Okay, let me say, Trevor,
Yeah.
Mr. Scholl, si us sembla, if you...
So, given that we don't have much time because we started a little late, and also we have to stick to the agenda because of the streaming and everything, given that you will have some time for networking afterwards backstage, and we will be able to talk to Mr. Scholz and everyone. And then no comments or questions from streaming yet, although it is open, so please do not hesitate to send your questions or remarks, and you will get feedback from the speakers. So maybe we should send over the Q&A to the networking part afterwards, and then you can keep on sending using the form your questions. So.
Sure.
And we can comment later in the networking space if you want,
okay.
because everybody will be there. Okay.
So I disrupted the program. Okay, that's
yes.
good.
Sorry. Moltíssimes gràcies. Thank you, Mr. Scholz, for your moderating also. Moltes gràcies als ponents.
And thank you to all the speakers.
So much, Trevor. Bé, doncs, dèiem a l'inici, Mr. Scholz, thank you.
Thank you.
So, as we said in the beginning, we would close this session discussing real experiences of this platform cooperativism. Now we will have Jordi Picas, Director of Innovation at Suarez, and he will present a selection of some platform cooperatives, some younger ones, some more consolidated, committed to this model we are discussing today, and also cooperatives as an alternative to empower their members. So Jordi Picas, whenever you want, you can also introduce the speakers. So if you want to come to the stage and take a seat. Well, first of all, I would like to say I'm really excited about introducing this part of the session, because I've been able to meet again with projects I've been following over time, and also because of some new projects I didn't know about, which are located here in Catalonia, very close to us, and with very interesting initiatives. So organizing this event is great to get to know this ecosystem of companies and initiatives in Catalonia linked to platform cooperatives. So we've started a living lab at Suarez, which is an open innovation space in order to help startups within the university ecosystem, but also we would like it to be a reflection space, a meeting point for the creation of content in terms of platforms linked to social economy. So I would invite you to, in the future, keep up the discussion and using this ecosystem, this living lab we are designing. So the first organization I would like to present here is La Zona with Ferran Dalmau. He is the coordinator and of the IT options and project manager at the marketplace. La Zona is a marketplace of organizations fostering a sustainable local commerce. You've got 5 minutes. Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. We started La Zona, the zone, from the IT Options Cooperative. That's the name of the cooperative. We've been working on it for 20 years now. And starting from seeing that we have this imposed model we don't like, which created some externalities we didn't like, and we wanted to change it. So this is the established model, as you know, market philosophy and excessive consumerism, work precariousness, also pollution related to digital commerce, the destruction of local commerce, which is one of the main collateral damages here seen on local commerce, and then the monopolies and tax evasion. So that was the starting situation. And also, as we've heard before, we were in a context of simultaneous crises. We have this financial crisis that's been dragging from 2008, but also we have a social crisis, which is a result of the economic crisis, but also it is the outcome of a model that basically increases inequalities, and we also have an environmental crisis we cannot escape from based on this, on the heat to start with. So what can we offer to society? We want to offer a responsible alternative, which for us would be the La Zona digital marketplace. We approach a digital marketplace which is based on the rationale of conscious and aware consumerism. So in other digital marketplaces, similar to other digital marketplaces, we approach this from the perspective of social economy. And these are the variables we use to ensure that organizations offering services and products through La Zona actually meet these requirements. We ask them, for instance, to send the ESS social balance, or to meet the 15 criteria at the PAMAPAM map, which basically give an idea of how that initiative is working in terms of criteria linked to social economy and solidarity. We are also an initiative based on inter-cooperation that has been brought up during the presentations of Professor Fuste and Professor Scholz. We did not create La Zona to enrich the options, but as a service to our partner organizations which are members of our cooperative, and we created it to foster consumption with an awareness. And we do that with the aim of cooperating with other organizations working in the same sector and to set up positive synergies. Some other features would be sustainable logistics as one of our main challenges. We basically try to, the transportation of orders and packages. We try to make it in the most sustainable way, and we basically the last mile transportation we try to make it sustainable with electric vehicles or bicycles or whatever. And basically, we want to change the way of consuming. We want to make people aware, and basically people who are using La Zona to consume things, to buy things on the digital marketplace, just to make them aware of that. We are also a tool based on open source, which means not only that we use open source tools such as WordPress or Matomo for data analytics, which is an alternative to Google Analytics, but we also soak in their philosophy. Whatever we develop is given to the service, is put to the service of the community. So we are in touch with other agents, other players in the ecosystem who also want to promote similar initiatives. And we basically say, well, it's so expensive and so hard to set up all of this, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Let's just use tools that have already been developed to meet our challenges, and let's put them to the service of the community, because at the end of the day, as a cooperative, we want to promote a change in our consumption habits, and we want to be a social transformation tool. So that's basically La Zona in a nutshell. If there's any doubts, I'll be happy to get back to you during the networking time afterwards. Thank you so much, Ferran. That's a really interesting proposal. I didn't know about it, and during the research process with Trevor, we thought it was interesting to know about it, to get to know more about it. The second proposal is from Lucas. He's the CEO of Mobility Factory, a European technological cooperative offering services of e-vehicles, sharing e-vehicles. You may know about them for some other services they provide, but we asked him to tell us about this international network they created, which we believe provides a great amount of value to the work they do. You've got 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Suarez, for inviting us. It is a pleasure to be here today and present our initiative.
El reto de Somobilitat es...
Somobilitat, as we know, there are many cars. We have climate change and emergency. We depend on fossil fuels. And the future is electric, connected, shared, and maybe autonomous in the future. I do not want to go deep inside on this, but I'm going to tell you what we do. Somobilitat is a consumer cooperative, that is to say, the users are also the owners of the cooperative, but this only works if it is a collaboration between different entities. So we have heard that we need the collaboration of civil society, but also the collaboration of municipalities, the public administration, and municipal regional level, and also to collaborate with local small companies. This is the only way for us to grow quickly enough, and this is the added value that we can offer as cooperatives, because we are able to collaborate with other entities in an easier way than it is done in classical kind of companies that are privately funded. Well, there are a wealth of initiatives from 6 different European countries, and RESCO, that is the funding partner, and they all use the same platform adapted to their special needs. It is a software that only needs certain minor adjustments to adapt to the needs of each of these different co-ops, and this is what we do every day to try and find what are the special needs and solutions. Not from the technological point of view mainly. We see the distribution. We have many in Spain, also in Belgium, the Netherlands, and next we will hold our assembly in the Netherlands, and it'll be an in-person assembly, which we are very happy about. So in a nutshell, that is what I wanted to say, and this is what the Mobility Factory and some Mobilidad is. Thank you.
It is true that a clear example of international national cooperation to approval initiatives that are being set up here. I'm going to introduce you, Mensakas Nuri Soto. It's great to introduce her because we knew each other at the cooperativist meeting at New York before the pandemic. When you submitted the project, it seemed very ambitious to me, and I would like you to tell us what has occurred in these last 3 or 4 years, since I remember that you explained Mensakas, and at what point are you now? Jordi said I had too many slides, so it's true. I'm going to be fast because summarizing is not my thing. So I'm going to show why Mensaka isn't, how it works, and at what point we are, according to what Jordi said. Mensakas came up from the social movement, the Riders por Derechos platform in 2017, due to the second worldwide conflict, the first demonstrations in the UK, because Deliveroo came up in the UK, and then they spilled over to Barcelona and the whole of Spain. So all deliverers, and has further grown. Based on that, it became, it brought for court labor inspection, conflict with social security due to the independent worker status. And in 2017, the discussion was additional work for students, and which was very important at the meeting spaces regarding the platform economy and cooperativism, because a splitting is what determines that. It was the difficulty of unionizing. So the centroids allowed that we, who were independent workers, allowed us to bring us together before we changed the system. The importance of the union, so you are informed about the infringed rights. This is basic to channel the struggle. Then we talk whether it's an old or new conflict. It's very important to talk how we define new and talk about alternatives in the same conflict. There's an article talking about the 20th century shipyards in the 20th century, when the people went and had no other coverage. In the 80s, the oldest cooperative in message delivery was created, which is Travel. So in 2017 there was general unrest, and in 2018 we decided to struggle against the economic model, but to create a job for ourselves and what we like, but in a different way. So what Mensaka said, it's not a competition, but it's an alternative effect of competing too much. It's a matter of adding on and not from an expensive point of view. Ecology, psychologistics, we do everything by bike, and feminism. Mission and values, after all, dignified job and salary, sustainability and the decongestion of cities, local responsible consumption, and people always above the capital. We have 10 cargo bikes. We go for the last mile, and the bike as a means of work, functioning, decision-taking roles, notice, self-distinction by responsibility. There's flexible working times, and the tools we're using. The logistic platform CopCycle. Currently, we are 5 female partners. Mensakas was the only girl at Transport Derechos, and we are the only cooperative from a conflict where there are more girls. That's important, the feminine presence, in order to create an alternative. 1 female worker and cooperating partners. What are we doing? Here we see how Mensakas has developed on different lines it has taken. We have the package delivering, last mile, and co-op cycle is how we channel the logistics. All the restaurants you can see on the website, how the package delivery works through the co-op cycle forms and the last mile. And this is something I'd like to comment afterwards, how co-op cycle works. This is a working day. I do the allocation. So this is important. Co-op cycle can think that they have certain limitations, technical limitations, but this leads me to talk. Platforms, the algorithms, the social algorithms, transparency, but it's important of talking of exclusion when talking about process automation. Therefore, all this conflict is concentrated on freelancers or forced freelancers, because if you take out the algorithm from the labor right, it allows for certain discrimination for productivity. If you include it into the labor law, it's within the collective agreements, but it still keeps some discrimination regarding process automation, where human action is when carrying out your activity. So I think this is also important. We take a certain job environment from that. Can we separate the logistics from labor environment? Where is the separating line between both? Co-op cycle has to be understood as something more than just a technological tool. It's a federation. It's a great project. Every investment we do at co-op cycle at any cooperative has an impact on more than 80 cooperatives carrying out this project. Mensakas started with more ambitious, less functional tool than co-op cycle. What we said made no sense going parallel ways, but we had to go for that. Shared values, visibility, synergies, and a true alternative to platform capitalism based on adding and sharing values. We are ecologists, we are second-degree cooperative. We're organizing all cooperatives in Catalonia. That's important when talking. We've been left outside many things. We cannot provide a logistical solution for Catalonia, but we are eco-logistics. And then union challenges, idealize. Yes, we are a role model, but there are many difficulties we must not hide, because we need to come forward and we need to visualize that. Diversity, involvement, the main working tool, subjectivation processes. It's very difficult when personal emancipation is related to an individual idea, and we need to take collective ways, both union-wise and cooperative-wise. Profitability, we need to network. This is the only way of surviving. Organization, big data, and psychologistic rules. This is also a limitation. We want to talk about environment, new models, but the regulations don't keep pace. It's also a limitation for us. So that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now I give the floor to Gita from Katuma. Thank you very much for coming because we had to solve it last minute. We thought we couldn't come, but you made the effort and we're happy that you can share your project with us. Thank you very much for inviting us. I have colleagues who are in the Basque Country, and sorry again because I need to leave quickly. I have a small baby waiting for me, so needs me, and we had to improvise. I have no presentation, so I just take the luxury of keeping seated. Some of you will know Katuma. It has many similitudes with La Zona. It's an online marketplace for organic products, local produce, and the singularity is no distributor, but it directly relates consumers and organic producers, and it creates different sorts of relation. Here in Catalonia, one of the most expanded models used by the platform is consumption cooperatives that connect to different individual producers, but it allows the model of different producers who come together to distribute towards one single group, or models like peasants markets, or even their own shop of a producer selling to end consumers. There's a cooperative form, so an open governance, transparent, and all its partners can decide on the tool, on the software. So the three axes would be social economy, because all partners are part of the social economy, food and technological sovereignty, and this latest point is one of the bases. We share the code as a common good. We don't use any licenses nor any private use of the software, and we share knowledge. In the end, the more knowledge is conveyed, these ambitious projects yield better results. Finally, through the GitHub GitLab repository, we review the community project at international level, and we're going to talk on that later. Based on what has been said by Trevor, as I said, we do it on our own? No, we don't, because it would be impossible. There have been many attempts at developing this sort of software that have failed, and many resources have been devoted to it, and what cooperatives and the cooperatives mentioned. Thought that we needed such a tool. They asked, has anybody done that before? Do we need to start from scratch? And discovered that there was an international network, which is Open Food Network, with instances, and they were developing software in community with many developers worldwide, and perhaps they could use that infrastructure to develop Katuma. So we could say that Katuma is the local instance, the Catalan instance of the Open Food Network. We could say it's one of the baby instances of Open Food Network, and other countries like Australia, France, the UK has a strong footprint and many users. Our local instance is a cooperative with consumption groups, also producers and collaborating partners. It is not for profit, but it has a system of contributions to cover costs, and we also contribute to maintain the software, which belongs to all who are part of it, and a small technical support team to users that has to be maintained as well. So the goal is offering solutions which were stated at the industry to make this quantum leap many have been talking about for so long time. What I was interested in this tool is that in the end it was developed by activists who were part of consumption groups, or even were producers, organic food producers. So they themselves were developing the tool. What does it offer? From becoming visible with pins on a map, some producers only want to be visible, and perhaps they still don't use a digital tool to market their products, with direct sales to own shops, association with our producers, having an automation of many processes that are carried out when selling agri-food products. And the consumption groups have got support in the process that had to be done with private tools that were not designed exclusively for that. And they weren't enough in managing orders, inventory, stock management, and so on. And to single out some challenge, well, it has been said, distribution, logistics, which is where we need more cross-cooperation, and especially on behalf of the producers, is the biggest gap, where we need to count on the public authorities to make headway and bring about this change of scale. It's a very intuitive software. All of which has been published has been and is. It's registering, creating a profile, getting permissions according to the profile, and, well, setting up a shop according to what you wish from the platform, and start working. And as I have no presentation, it's an opportunity for you to say that you enter catuma.org and just be curious and have a look at the map. It has been growing a lot, and to know different projects, it's fine. And that's it. As I cannot state the network, the organization, if any question comes up, we can convey that and we will answer that. Yeah. Thank you very much. I will introduce you the project is salus.coop, which I hope that many of you know this initiative. It's Ariana, the head of communications of salus.coop. It's a data cooperative and health cooperative, so please, you have the floor, Ariana. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting us, but also because I went through a master in cooperativism after listening to all of you. I understand why you invited us, because we are different in the sense that we're all boomers, and this makes it different in what we've presented so far. We work in health, and what we do is working on data. Salus is a quite young cooperative. It's only 5 years old, but in fact it's only days old because we just issued the first project. So we are within this different framework at different levels at the same time. What we do, this came up in the medical environment, and we state that we have a personal and collective heritage, which are our data, our health data. Legally, it's ours, but we never remember that. At least I didn't think of that. And we neither control nor manage that. That seems silly, but if we all come together and work in the same direction, we could bring about social change through this heritage, which I would like to think is highly democratic, because we all have the data, we all are able to generate them, and we all have them. And the older we grow, the more medical data we create, because this is how life is. So we have a heritage that is growing as we become older, and if we share it, we can redeploy it, because we have big power, because everybody takes part, and we are all potential data donors in terms of health. So you can download the application. I brought the presentation, but very bad at that. But the idea is that if we are already providing data every time we send an email, wouldn't do we like? Why not with a purpose, with a certain sense behind. The idea is empowering people. Silos is not only about health, it's about using the digital platform as a means and as a tool to empower as a citizen and generate a fair, egalitarian, more feminist society. What we do is making sure the anonymity of data through a complex system. We have developed the platform because it was very difficult to find spaces that would make sure anonymization, and this is very expensive. We are struggling there at different battlefronts, but thanks to subsidies and aids and cooperations with other cooperatives like Suarez, we can make headway. And what you suggest is doing a contract project by project, linking research projects. We're working now with public hospitals. The project we are launching now, which is with Valdebrón Hospital. We are working on the project of persistent lung prison COVID with teenagers, and BSC Global with air pollution and how it impacts on our well-being. So health and well-being is regarding life quality. It's a life cooperative. We want to improve everybody's life quality, not depending on someone deciding that, but we ourselves pushing towards this improvement, like sharing data. I have given you a small map. You don't need to understand it, but it's for you to understand that the pseudo-anonymization is created this way through encryption, working on blockchain platforms, and everything shared. As you said before, it's not a guarantee for anything, but it allows us to give a certain guarantee towards donors that these intimate data you are going to share, you accept it, that you're going to be preserved, you're not going to be traced. So what are we doing? We're bringing together research projects, helping them, capturing donors of different kinds. Because what has been done so far is that it's more or less easy to have data from patients, but it's difficult to contrast them with people who don't suffer these conditions. So what we want to do is working together with the research centers, so out of their needs, helping them capture donors they need for that specific study. I could talk about the issues we encounter. For instance, the return is very long-term, as a difference to what you were explaining, that they are consumption products with a fast return. I think this is one of our challenges, which is awareness raising among the overall population, so they make a small gesture, because it's easy. You just have to click a button and you give your consent and you share your data, but it's a very little tangible thing, because in fact I'm healthy and perhaps I'm cooperating with a survey with somebody who doesn't have my needs. So this appeals a lot to solidarity of all of us, and I think, yeah, that's all. Here you have an example on how we are working on the campaign for Valdebrón. So we try, as you were saying, the cooperation. There is a concept we're working, which is the friend community, and I invite you all, if you wish, to participate, to write us and connect, so we can communicate through your communities, because as I said before, all are potential donors, so we don't have a specific environment. All people think that all your partners are potential sellers, donors, and I would be great if you could communicate. Thank you very much, Ariana.
Per acabar només... Tot. Per acabar només...
So just to end with, I would like, well, we've seen here some, for examples of initiatives of platform cooperatives, existing platform cooperatives. There's many more. in Catalonia. So I would tell you, just explore them, look at them, cooperate if you can. And of course, that's Suarez. We'd love to keep up these conversations in the format of Living Lab or whatever to continue this conversation we've started. Thank you very much, everyone.
Gracias. Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Please, if you want to step down. We will now close this session. Please do not leave because we will have a group picture afterwards. But first, we have the closing by Mr. Enrique Binaixa, Secretary of Work from the Regional Government of Catalonia. So, Mr. Binaixa, please go ahead. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation to give these closing words for this session today. I would also like to thank Suarez for the invitation. So when I was coming here, and for some days now, I was thinking how I'm going to close, how I'm going to spend this hour and a half to close this event. Just joking, it's not going to be that much. I'll be short, I'll be brief. But after listening to your experiences, I admit I have changed in a cooperative way 6 or 7 times the way I was going to close this event. So actually the regional government of Catalonia 6 or 7 years ago created this commission to give orientation, to give guidelines on the creation of platform cooperatives, and a lot has happened ever since. And we consider from the government that in the field of cooperativism, the aspect most closely related to platforms is not an opportunity, but it is the opportunity. We believe it is the opportunity. Why do I say that? Because there's always been a discussion, a debate within a globalized economy and within a platform-based economy, the what and the how. The what has never been discussed. The what on the activity, what is the goal, and what is the object of the activity in the parameter of companies, commercial and non-commercial. The how has led to more discussions and has led to more issues. And Uri was talking about that before, because how to get there has come with models based on technology, because cooperation or collaboration between communities is much older than technology, of course, but it got to us with a number of models under this technological element, which was actually made the center of the activity, ignoring that this technological model is great, but it's just a tool. And what has to be at the core, at the center, is the people, not the technological model. So I believe we've come to understand this over time. We've corrected this, not in a really peaceful way, but we've found in the legal frameworks of the legal system of the country, which protects the origin of platforms that came with a more neoliberal conception. This has been corrected, and we've been able to fit all the initiatives, mostly in the field of transport. We're not concerned about the idea, about the what, and of course we're not concerned that from cooperativism this is the pillar for this necessary change. But what about the how? Well, the revaluation of cooperatives basically reproduces the same values I would like to feature in most of the organizations in this country. Cooperatives are very democratic organizations with distribution of responsibilities, also with decent working conditions in terms of salaries and everything. Also, the focus on the gender gap and the age gap, I would also say. I believe I'm also a boomer, even more than that, so this is hard too, and this has to be taken into account as well. So this is the opportunity, and we've seen this from the last 4 experiences, from cooperativism using a tool, not an algorithm, but a tool focused on people, not necessarily technology, but using technology as an element for proximity, for sustainability in the activity of cooperatives. And this leads to cooperatives being the opportunity and the pillar for using other ways of organization to respect and value, which does not happen in many other fields. So again, thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much for this initiative and the ones that will come after in the near future, I'm sure, because digital economy is not a future anymore. It is the present. Thank you so much.
Moltes gràcies, secretari, senyor Vinaixa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vinaixa. So we will call it a day. Of course, Suarez, with this session, wanted to show you some practical cases and some reflection around this question. Can platform cooperativism build a better world in the social economy of Catalonia? And I would like to end with a quote by Trevor Scholz, one of these books published by Nathan Snyder. He says, platform cooperativism is a new vision of the future in terms of work and the internet. Hopefully, we've been able to tackle a little better today this vision to build a better world altogether. On behalf of Suarez, thank you to all the participants here on site and online. You will now be able to taste some wine from the Oliveras winery and the vineyards they have in Colcerola. And also, to all of the speakers, I would ask to come here to the stage to take a group picture on the stage. So thank you very much, everyone.
Voleu anar pujant? Els endreces, si els endreces una mica, Jordi. El Trevor.